Hello, Lyle over here, back for another F1 2021 video, and today we are here at the Hungaroring in Hungary for round 2 of the VRL season, and I know this is a bit of a weird track to have as the second round of the season, but nonetheless, I do quite enjoy driving around this track. Definitely not one of my strongest tracks, but I definitely find it quite nice to drive around. But we're in qualifying right now, and we've just finished up our first lap in Q1. It was a pretty slow lap, pretty shockingly slow actually, but it was enough to make it into Q2. And now straight into Q2, we're on the mediums now. The plan for me was to start on the medium tire, so we had hopes of making it into Q3 by qualifying on the mediums. And as we finish off our medium lap, I think that's actually a decent medium tire lap, and it does put us well above the danger zone to make it into Q3. And now straight into Q3, once again we are starting our lap. This time it's bright and sunny unlike the previous two sessions, but we're starting the lap now, and as we end it, it's been a pretty poor lap actually, 14.1. Struggling to get the pace down around this track. I sometimes struggle with that around a few tracks, this being one of them. But we're starting our final run in Q3, hoping to improve to make sure to secure pole position. Currently we are on provisional pole as we head down into turn 2, but that could all change as we are just 0.02 of a second ahead of the man in P2, that being R6 Chong. Now into turn 4, a very difficult corner, and we actually run wide and invalidate there. So we're going to have to back out of the run, and luckily Hungary is actually quite a short track, so even with the minimum fuel, if you go out with minimum fuel, you'll still usually have enough for 2 push laps, and you can see we are going for 2 push laps. The tires are a little bit worn. We're going to have to try and manage as we head through turn 1, and we're pretty much matching almost as until we get a snap of oversteer, but still pretty much matching our best time, which was quite slow though. My PB is a 13.5, so we're looking to improve quite a bit. You can see we're a 10th up right now. Purple first sector, but we invalidate and get a big snap of oversteer. Once again, struggling to get it right at turn 4. But luckily, we did manage to grasp pole position by 0.02 of a second. So, very close. I couldn't get the final lap together, and that could have definitely cost us. But luckily, we managed to secure pole position. Onto the formation lap though, starting on mediums and then going on to hards, as we showed on the strategy screen earlier. We're lining up on the grid now to start this race, and it's 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. It's lights out and let's go racing. And we actually get a little bit of wheel spin on the start. R6 Chong, currently alongside us, has started on the soft tires, so he will have the advantage in the early stages of this race. And you can see he has already gotten ahead of us exiting turn 1. Into turn 2, we're not able to come back to try and keep the position, but it is the very early stages of this race, so it's not the end of the world that we're in P2, and P2 is actually quite a good position at this stage of the race, because after lap 2 we will have DRS from the car ahead, which will put us in a very good position to carry on through the early stages of this race. So far the main priority is not to overtake for the lead. There's simply no point at the early stage of this race, and just staying behind for now will probably benefit us the most. Now, exiting into the 3rd sector, and the leader up ahead has actually been sliding quite a bit through a lot of these corners, so pushing these softs quite hard. As you can see, he's pretty much sliding through every corner, or at least it looks like it from our point of view. But we're heading on to the start of lap 2 now, and down into turn 1, and we Chong goes for a little weave there, but we're just not close enough to make a move there. So we're heading down this straight. The gap is 3/10. We'll be gaining with the slipstream at this stage of the race, but we'll be gaining even more with the DRS as well. And as we cut onto the end of that same lap, we just stuck behind once again, as the plan was. And now going down this straight into turn 1, still not close enough to make a move, and no point in trying at this early stage of the race. Now heading down into turn 2, still just sticking behind, and we're probably going to do this for quite a bit of this early stage of the race, just playing it smart here. We can save ERS and save fuel as we're fast forwarding through part of the lap there. But we're now heading through the S section and into this right-hander. Oh, and the leaders actually spun out there. I think there's been a big crash there, and you can see one car has been collected. That has been Poob there. He has been collected, and that is a DNF from this race. And if you remember, if you watched the previous league race, we actually had quite a good battle with him and quite a close fight for the podium, so it's a real shame to see him just get collected in a crash that was totally out of his control. So that's really unfortunate for him, and it's fortunate for us at this stage of the race though, because we've been pretty much gifted the race lead, and currently it's just a 1-2 lead for AlphaTauri, and we've got our teammate Brian's GEK right behind us, and at this stage of the race we can just keep him in DRS and pull away from the cars behind. Already we have nearly a 4-second gap to the cars behind, so at this stage of the race it's a pretty comfortable 1-2 lead for AlphaTauri, which is good, and you can just see lap after lap we're just keeping our teammate within DRS, and until lap 7 though, where our teammate Brian GEK dropped out of the 1-second gap. So at this stage I decided to start pushing, and immediately on the next lap our teammate pits, but we set the fastest lap as well. So immediately showing the pace that we have on these medium tires, as we get a 3-second time penalty though on lap 12 of this race. I skipped over the first 2 warnings, but we did get 3 warnings. It wasn't a track limit bug like it was in Bahrain, so that is unfortunate. Just minor extensions of the track limits, and it all added up to a penalty, which may come back to bite us later in this race, as the VSC has now been deployed here. So there's a few cars, or no, just one car that I can see on the track map into the pit lane, and that is James B there, who actually won the race in the previous round at Bahrain. And he's pitted for the hards, as you can see, as we're fast forwarding through this VSC period. And this VSC was actually out on track for quite a while, almost the entire lap, which is very long for a virtual safety car. And you can see Jeff actually pops up for a new strategy, and at the same time the VSC is ending, and I didn't even realize that because I was focused on the strategy, so I was totally caught off guard. You can see the gap is currently 13 seconds behind, but you can see how quickly that's going down because we weren't paying attention to the VSC restart, and now it's 11.5 seconds, so that just shows how much time you can lose in a split second by just not paying attention to stuff like VSC restarts and stuff like that. So an unfortunate mistake, and we're gonna have to keep pushing from here though. We still got a pretty comfortable lead out in front. 11.7 seconds is the gap to Penny behind as we're fast forwarding. Again, you can see there's yellow flags on the exit of turn 5, and that's one of the Red Bulls has retired, and their safety car has actually been deployed as a result of the Red Bull retiring, which you could see there for a split second just before the car disappeared. But you could see also that immediately Jeff came up with a new strategy to box this lap, and that is exactly what we're gonna do. So we're pitting around 4 laps earlier than planned, which is quite a bit, but the tires should manage to the end, as they can make it to the end quite easily from here, I would say. But we're pitting onto the hard compound of tire, 2.6 second pit stop, as it always is in league races. And now, heading down the pit lane, you can see Al Penny behind in the Aston Martin has pitted. So is our teammate Brian's GEK, and James B, I think, stays out because he already pitted under the VSC that came out earlier in this race. But pretty much everyone else, except for a couple cars behind, stayed out. And as we cut onto the end of this safety car, you can see the safety car pulling into the pit lane now, and we will have control of this safety car restart. In the lead, James B in the Alfa Romeo right behind us. As we go now, we get quite a bit of oversteer, trying to get the throttle down as soon as possible, and it's very difficult to manage oversteer on restart sometimes, but that was quite violent oversteer there. But we managed to keep the car in a straight line, and out of turn 1, we've managed this safety car restart quite well, as the cars behind are not close enough to make a move, as there's been an incident behind. Unfortunately, that looks like something our teammate was caught up in, which is really unfortunate for him. But heading into turn 4, we actually get a bit of oversteer where we've gone off the track there, and we made a mistake. And on the exit of turn 5, James B is going to have a look down the inside at the chicane. This isn't normally a place where you see overtakes, but we managed to go side by side through the chicane. That was great racing there. And now, heading through this S section, we have just about managed to keep ahead of James B behind. It's very difficult to go side by side through that chicane, especially if you're the car on the outside for the first part, because you have to go so wide. But we managed to do it, and it was just great battling there. But exiting the penultimate corner, now through the final corner, something that we do have to keep in mind is that, as far as I can see on the position counter, P3, P4, P5, all 3 of those cars do not have penalties. And of course, I have a penalty at this stage of the race, 3 seconds. So we have to keep that in mind, and we have to try to pull out a 3-second gap if we want to maintain our position. Of course, James B also has a 3-second penalty, so we only have to finish ahead of him on track. As we're now fast forwarding though, purple first sector, and I can confirm that that is not because of any fast forwarding methods, but we're heading through the S section here in fast forward. I think we're skipping through to another major moment in this race as we head through the 3rd sector. Yellow flags behind. One of the Alpines, I think, has stopped on the track, and the safety car has been deployed once again. And we're taking a big risk here with the strategy. Not even 2 full laps of green flag racing between safety car periods, but we're going into the pits for a set of fresh mediums. This is a big risk though, because we will have the tire advantage, but we will be right at the back, which is probably one of the biggest risks you can take as far as strategy goes. But as we exit through the pit lane, just waiting to disengage the pit limiter, we go now. We will be the first of the medium runners. Everyone behind me has decided to pit for mediums, so they've all elected for this strategy. And as the safety car is ending now, it seems like we're going, are we? Yes, we are. Now we have gone. Green flags are out now, and we're on this quite risky strategy here, but all the cars ahead have a tire disadvantage on those hards. The mediums can easily make it to the end, as there's lots of squabbling up ahead. One of the Williams cars going very much out wide onto the runoff area out of turn 1. Through turn 2, it's very close between a lot of cars. Turn 3, the Williams goes wide again, using the full track width there to his advantage. Turn 4, we compromised our line because we had to look down the inside of the Aston Martin, but that was just never going to work. Now, heading into the chicane, and it's actually going to be a dive bomb from the Aston Martin, and he's spun. They've made contact. We narrowly avoid ending our race by going into the back of the Aston Martin there. He went for a move down the inside of the Williams, took a tight line and went too deep, and was never going to make that work, unfortunately. So that's a free position for us. It's quite a scary moment in this race because all of our efforts in this race could have been for nothing, but we just about managed to avoid that crash there, or that spin, essentially. And it was very close as well, but we just about managed to avoid it, luckily. So now, free position, P5, and we have to keep pushing on in this race and try and forget about that little scare there with the Aston Martin. But heading into turn 2, we have R6 Chong up ahead of us, who has elected to stay out on the hard compound of tire. So as we cut onto the end of lap 22, we may try to go for a move down this straight. You can see Chong actually gets a pretty poor exit out of the final corner, and it allows us to close up on him into the braking zone of turn 1. We go deep there, but we manage to stay side by side, but there's contact, and there's been a little half spin from us, and we've lost lots of positions as a result of that. And I really didn't know what to think of that incident, really. Well, I really just thought I got spun out there. Chong maybe ran a little bit wide and made contact, but the stewards actually deemed that as a racing incident. So they called that a racing incident. I don't really see what I could have done better to avoid that contact, because there's literally not much I could have done differently there. But they called that a racing incident, and we've both lost lots of positions as a result of it. So not very pleasant, and not something that you would want there, as we actually bump our teammate a bit and get a warning. That bump was definitely fully my fault. Not sure about the previous incident though. But into the final corner, and we just have to try and make up lost ground. No point worrying about something that's already happened, and we just have to try and recover from it. So this race has definitely been made a whole lot harder here, as we have a look down the inside of our teammate, a little bit of a half-hearted move, and we decide not to go for it in the end. And now into turn 2 we have another look, but this time we're simply not close enough. And now exiting turn 2 through turn 3, we probably have to stick behind for the rest of this lap here. And now heading through turn 4, and R6 Chong actually gets a penalty. He's gone wide, and he's gone in straight into the side of our teammate up ahead, and ended up spinning out there and pretty much ruined any chances of points for him in this race. So unfortunate for him, but again, free positions for us. So as we cut on to the end of lap 24, James B sets the fastest lap of a 17.0, and we're setting times of like high 18s in this traffic. Speaking of traffic, there's lots of traffic up ahead, lots of cars going at it side by side there. And now into turn 2, lots of cars still going at it as the Mercedes basically takes out our teammate. So free position, but that was definitely a very bad move from the Mercedes, really. So luckily our teammate didn't get put into a wall or anything, but that was dangerous from the Mercedes. Very dangerous driving there, as the Mercedes now spins. So I guess that's, as Fernando Alonso would say, karma. But we're still pushing on in this race, and now we've got A6 Plage up ahead of us, and into the third sector. There's yellow flags behind. Yeah, it's actually our teammate. That's quite unfortunate. But exiting the penultimate corner now, we will have DRS, luckily, from the car up ahead after that quite chaotic lap, pretty much. Now, as we cut onto the end of lap 27, again James B setting another fastest lap. So he's actually leading this race in clean air, so he's had a good opportunity to show his quite good pace at this stage of the race. As there's yellow flags. Oh, it's one of the that's actually James B. It's one of the Alfa Romeos, James B. As we go down the inside of the other Alfa Romeo, A6 Plage. And we get 2 positions on both Alfa Romeos. I'm not sure what happened to James B. Oh, wait, no. I actually remember. He said his controller disconnected. And yeah, that's very unfortunate for him because he was leading this race. But lap 29, and we go for a move around the outside of Trixie in the Williams. And on the exit, we have DRS. We managed to get the move done. And now into turn 2. We've kept the position. Trixie not close enough to go for a move. And we just have to keep pushing to the cars ahead. Trixie behind has a penalty, so we don't have to worry about him. But there are still cars behind without penalties that we have to worry about. Up ahead, though, we're worrying about getting a move done on this McLaren here around the outside of turn 1. Once again, it's very close between the two of us, just about keeping it clean. And now, heading down this second straight, side by side, into turn 2. There's actually quite a bit of contact there, as the McLaren just turns in on us pretty much. Not really my fault there. But we get the move done there, and we're into P2 of this race. L. Penny up ahead is currently leading after James B. had a quite unfortunate controller disconnection. But on the end of lap 31 of this race, we have caught up to L. Penny up ahead. Now, heading down the straight, we're using overtake and slipstream. L. Penny trying to break the slipstream from us. But heading into turn 1, we go around the outside. Can we get the move done on the exit? Yes, we can. We get a bit of oversteer there, but we're pulling away so much on the straight, using the advantage of the DRS to its maximum potential. And we've managed to pull out the gap. And you can see that P3, the McLaren there, who does not have a penalty, the gap currently 4.3, 5.2 as we cut on lap after lap. And we have a pretty sizable gap to the Aston Martin behind. So after a very eventful race, we now head out of the final corner for the final time. The checkered flag waves, and we win our first victory of the season here in Hungary at the second round of the season. And that is definitely a performance that I would like to be doing a lot more often. So hopefully I can pull off some more victories, quite a lot more during this season. And already very early on in this season, we have actually taken the championship lead with 40 points after a P3 finish in Bahrain and then a P1 finish in Hungary, of course. But guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching this one. And if you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. But once again, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.